In this lesson, we'll look at building and applying class selectors, and applying those class selectors using the span tag. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to be able to selectively, at will, apply styles to copy within my page without having to redefine an entire selector. I might like to selectively have a few words within my paragraph element appear in red, but not the whole element. We redefined the entire element in a previous lesson. But how can I use CSS to consistently but selectively apply formatting wherever I would like to have that formatting occur? One way that we can achieve this is to use a CSS class. And a CSS class is essentially a selector of our own definition. We define a style and give that style a name, and then selectively, wherever we would like to have inside our copy that formatting applied, we apply that formatting by using an attribute which refers to our class name. Let's take a look at how we do this. Inside our style element, I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to add a few returns inside my style element so I have some room to work. And after the rules which govern the presentation of paragraph elements in my page, I'm going to define a new class. The way that we define classes is by starting our selector with a period, and this is very important. You do have to have the period or this will not work. And then typing the name of the class that we would like to create. In this case, I'd like to type the name of the class red text, because I want to selectively apply the red color to specific words within my copy. So my class selector begins with a period and then a name of your choosing, and choose a name that's logical, that makes sense to you, as short as possible, and do not use spaces in your class declaration. Then, as you did before with your H1 and paragraph selectors, in this internal block of CSS, type an open curly bracket, hit your return key on your keyboard a few times and tab over, and type a closing curly bracket. Now we're ready to write the properties and value pairs that will govern the presentation of text that we want to achieve with this class. In this case, we only want one change. We want to make text red. So as we've already seen before, we can use the color property and set that property equal to a hexadecimal shade of red, which we define with a pound key and a value you retrieve from a graphics program or look up on the internet. In this case, FF0000 will give us a bright shade of red. Now if I save my file and switch and reload in my web browser, you can see nothing has changed. When we made changes before, we were redefining existing elements, and those changes came over immediately as soon as we saved our document. That was because we redefined an existing selector. By defining H1 as our selector, we created linkage between all H1 elements and our CSS rules. But this new class we defined doesn't yet exist anywhere else inside our file. And that's good, because we only want to selectively apply that style. Well, the way that we achieve that is by using the style attribute, which we've seen before, in an element in our page. I'm going to come down and find the words truly remarkable in the copy in my hubble.htm page. Now, I want to have this red text class applied to these words. I'm going to type a tag which we've not seen yet, and that tag is open caret span with an N, not spam, span. And after the word remarkable, I'm going to type a closing span tag. For our purposes right now, the span tag will allow us to selectively apply CSS styles to a selection of text without modifying the layout of the page. We have not yet looked at modifying page layout. We're only looking to modify the appearance of page content at this time. We'll be coming to layout pretty soon, but for right now, to get this red text class on these words, truly remarkable, we'll use the span tag to create an element, and we'll use the class attribute to create the linkage between our red text class and this span tag. So I'll type space, class equals, quote, quote, and within the quotes of this class attribute, which we've just added to the opening span tag of our span element, I'll type the name of our class, red text. Now I'll save this file and switch over to our browser and hit reload or refresh, and we can see the words truly remarkable now appear in red, but the rest of the text still appears in the default gray, which we passed to the paragraph element with our paragraph rule. Now, I want to mention you don't always have to use a span tag to apply your class to an element in your HTML page. You can use other tags that are capable of receiving a class attribute. One of those tags would be the emphasis tag, which we've seen before. Let's add a little bit more text to this page. In my HTML file, after 18 years, I'll type, there are many free sample images courtesy of NASA are available for download over the internet. Now let's say you'd like to add that red text to the word free. But before we do that, let's say we really want to emphasize that text. And we went ahead and added an EM opening and closing tag to create an emphasis element around the word free. If we save and preview that work by reloading this page in our web browser, we see the new line of text appear, and the word free italicized as we would expect. But this EM tag is also capable of receiving your red text class. So as we did a moment ago, inside the opening EM tag of this EM element, type a space and then a class attribute. And within that class attribute, the name of the class that you'd like to apply to this element, which in this case is the class name, red text. Now if we save this file and reload in our web browser, the italicized word free is now also italicized and red, where the words truly remarkable are just red. I wanted to show you this separate way of doing things because the EM tag is capable of receiving your red text class, but it will also display text as italics. The span tag is capable of receiving your red text class, but the span tag itself has no formatting, and it will only format text based on the classes that you apply to that element, as we can see in our web browser.